All right. A lovely day. Wherever you are. I'm sure it's lovely. Now, why would you say that? I'm not just trying to pull your leg, make you feel that everything's wonderful. But things aren't indeed wonderful. And if they're not, is there a reason why they're not? Why wouldn't life just be wonderful? That's a good question. I'm sure everybody's thinking about that. Life is wonderful. Why? Weather is amazing. And how's that possible? Always. Or is it just, we're just being that way? All right. Welcome, folks, to Tanya Today. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zuchim in Montreal, Canada, where it's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya, as we share with Michael in Germany, as always. John, as always, in North Carolina. I think it's more or less as always for everybody. If you knew, I'll try and mention that. Lynn in Long Island, thank you for joining. Rusty is with us in Texas, and Rabbi all the way in Morocco, welcome. Diane is in Arizona, good morning. Rena in Colorado, where we probably compete for who's got colder weather. One of the competitors with Montreal. Judy is joining us all the way in Virginia, Sterling, Virginia, no less. Beautiful. Thank you for joining. I think might be, I don't know if it's the first time you're with us, but first time I think I'm mentioning Sterling, Virginia. We have Simcha in Florida with us. We have Davida and Liba, the twin sisters, always with us in New York. Who else is joining us? Sandy's in Michigan, getting ready for a big snowstorm. We're also going to get some snow here. We have Celeste. We have Chava in Boulder, Colorado. Shalom. Nicole is in Italy. Welcome. And who else is with us? Luz in Tennessee has joined us. David is in Sacramento, California. We have Bate. I'm sure I said, I don't know if I got that right. Julia is in Pennsylvania. Good morning. We have Clubhousers with us. Vilma, David, Nor, Michael, Adam. Merle is with us. Nema, I hope I got that right. Jay and Vicky. All right, beautiful. We have Instagrammers with you, Santa Telebenta. We have Akoy and Lima Peru. We have a few others. Tony. Sometimes I can't make out so clear. Tanya is with us. I forgot. Abba in Crown Heights. Eugenia is with us in Calgary, also, competing with us with cold weather. Warmth from within, melting all the cold from without. Tanya is in Seattle. And beautiful. Okay. In relationships with people, should you pursue peace at all times and at all costs? Is there a time not to pursue peace? Perhaps even, is there something that you can hate about another? Or the other, can you hate? Is there any place for that? Hate sounds so hateful. Is it healthy? Is there any place for it to be healthy? Or is it something that we just should stay away from? So the Talmud tells us that if you see your friend sinning, you should hate him. And you should even tell his teacher that he should hate him too. Now, how could that be based on teachings that you need to love your fellow as yourself? Well, you love yourself because you're good, so you're going to love good people. If you love yourself because you're an athlete, you're going to love athletic people. And you won't have any time or interest in someone who's a couch potato, for example. But if you love yourself because of your divine soul, oh, still have a divine soul. So what does it mean over here in the statement that someone who sins, that's a friend, that they're gotta hate him? Whoa, that's very powerful. How can that be? Says the Alter Rebbe in today's Tanya class that only applies, that ruling of our sages in the Talmud only applies to someone who's a companion of yours, your equal, when it comes to the study of Torah and the observance of mitzvahs. The Talmud, when it speaks about such a person, talking about someone who is a Torah observant scholar, but has lapsed. And therefore there's something to hate. Modifies further the Alter Rebbe, the hatred is, well, only comes after you've rebuked the person. You've tried to bring them back on the straight and narrow. Right? Only after you tried to bring them on the straight and narrow. Now, modifies further that this then, the hatred that the Talmud is speaking about, which we're going to come back to, is only your companion, your equal, someone who is a Torah scholar. Someone who they're a scholar that even an inadvertent sin is considered intentional for such an individual, and all the more so something that's intentional. However, someone who is not a scholar, someone who is not at your level, and we're talking about here to, an observant level of Jewish teachings and way of life, is ignorant, doesn't know, or he knows, but their sins are considered, when even they do it deliberate, are considered by the sages inadvertent, because they're not aware of the gravity of one bad thought, of one bad word, of one bad action. So that individual, which by the way is 99.999% of people, you're not allowed to hate that person. On the contrary, all you can do is love them. And then you need to be a student of Aaron the high priest. As Hillel would say, be a disciple of Aaron, who loves peace, pursues peace, loving creatures and drawing them near to the Torah. So the term that's used is creatures, not a person, but creatures. And the reason why, speaking about that, a person who outwardly doesn't seem to have much value or any value. Let's say they don't. Not like the Torah scholar who's got great value because they have scholarship and observance, but now went off the path in what we're talking about. But here we're talking a person who's off the path, but they're ignorant. They don't have outwardly seemingly great value, except the fact that God created them. That individual, you need to bring close. Love them. With strong cords of love, attract them. Try to bring them closer to Hashem, to Torah and mitzvahs. And perhaps you'll be able to inspire them, to bring them closer. But of course they have freedom of choice. And if that person who is not this scholar that we're talking about, right? Again, which is most of the population, even folks, you that come and study here, would not be in this category of, the great scholar. So even that person who you're trying to bring closer, and it doesn't work, they're not interested in Torah and mitzvahs. They're not interested to get closer to Hashem, to God, right? You haven't lost anything when you try and you just love them. Period. No hate. There's nothing to hate in that person. Even though they do hateful things. Even though there is a lot of negativity in that person. They're ignorant. They don't know better. Furthermore, says today's Tanya's teaching, that even that person who's your colleague, who the Talmud tells us, the sages tell us that you have to hate, says no, you have to hate them, and actually, you still have to love them. Hate and love them at the same time. How could that be? Because what you hate is not them, but the way they're acting. The way they're acting, you hate that. But them, their divine soul, that's hidden, that is not now revealed in them as it was previously in their observance and scholarship, you still love that. And not only do you love that, but when you have two competing feelings, which one's going to be primary? The hate for their actions or the love for their divine soul? Says the Alter Rebbe that the love has to be actually more primary and the hate more secondary. Because a person should be guided, even for that person who is your study partner, who you've rebuked and who is an equal to you, meaning they're a scholar, they're observant, and now they fell off the way. The primary way to relate to that person is still to love them. The hate for their actions is making it a little difficult maybe to feel the love towards their divine soul. Therefore, you have to arouse compassion for the divine soul of that friend of yours who's off the path, was sinning, in order to redeem the love. Because right now in this person, it's an exile and needs to be extracted, the divine soul, which is now being dominated by the negative side of this person, of this friend. And as we know that compassion redeems love, so that you can have still a love for that individual and you have a compassion towards their divine soul. To end off the 32nd chapter, Lamed Beis, Lev, the heart of Tanya. In brackets, the Alter says, as far as the statement that King David said, that I hate with a consummate hatred those who are the heretics, the Jewish heretics. That's for a king who is responsible for the entire Jewish people, that sometimes those who are heretics and bringing people away from God, from Hashem, so the king has a different responsibility to the entirety of the Jewish people, and therefore there can be that kind of hatred to that kind of person who is a complete heretic, but not for the rest of us. And that was a parenthetical remark that we shouldn't make a mistake and think that that's the attitude that we take. So, just to recap, a very powerful idea over here. That hate is only for the sinning, and that's only for the sinning of someone that's close to you. Why would you hate someone who's close to you and is sort of an equal? Why would you hate their sins, but someone who's not close to you and removed in observance, there wouldn't be hate for their sinning? So two basic reasons. One is the one who's close to you, because of the closest that you have, if you won't hate what they're doing, then you may learn from it, you may be affected by it. So there needs to be that. Furthermore, that person we're talking about is a scholar. And therefore, even inadvertent sins are considered deliberate, and all the more so deliberate sins. Whereas someone who is removed from, is a tinik shenishba, is like someone who's been captured by, imagine someone, a Jew, who was captured by heathens and raised by heathens, raised by pagans. What would that person grew up? Of course, they don't know Torah mitzvahs. They don't know the God of the Jewish people. They've been raised with, right? So that's actually the law of people today. It says, and even if though you're not literally being raised by heathens, but it's pretty much a hedonistic, heathen-like culture that is around us, that people are being raised with. And even people who sometimes observant. They keep Shabbos, they keep kosher, but yet their world is the world out there, and that's what raises them, right? So they don't know better. They're not really connected to such a degree that they are fully aware of the value, the connect and the disconnect that there is in Torah mitzvahs. And therefore their sin, which again is in most people, even though when they do it purposefully, it's considered inadvertent. And therefore, even though they have sin, That we don't look at. All we look at the divine soul and love them. Period. Love them because of that. Which is very powerful. So there's no hate there. Hate even for the sin. In relationship. That doesn't mean you don't hate sin, of course. But in relationship to the person and how you view them, how you see them, you're not seeing that. And that's the way we should look at each other. Do we see misdemeanors in someone else's life? Do we see that they said something, they acted in a way, whether to you or to someone else? So do we hate that in that person? Says no, the Alter Rebbe, not in that person. Even though there is negative things. But the way we look at them and deal with them will not be that way. The Torah says that you're supposed to hate. That's only someone who's a Torah scholar equal with you, who sort of was your study partner, your chavrus in yeshiva. You bear a certain responsibility. You've rebuked, and he's not changing. Right? He's off the path. Then there's something to hate. Then only the actions, not the person. And even then, the primary thing is love. You can't feel the love because at the same time there's something to hate about the actions of that person. So you got to redeem that love with compassion. Have compassion. You can redeem that. If we all incorporate this into our lives a little bit, oh my gosh, a different world we'll live in. Now we're not talking about here, a Nazi. We're not talking about that kind of person. We're talking about someone in your synagogue. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about someone, your regular, community member. Obviously family, right? This is the heart of Tanya. Let's all work on this, folks. I don't think we have to work on both the love and the hate of that scholar. Probably don't have someone in our lives that way. But to pursue peace, to be a lover of peace, to pursue peace, to bring close someone who's just a bria, just doesn't seem to have much value. You still, with great love, bring them closer to Hashem, to another mitzvah. How can you do that? Well, if you love yourself for your great qualities, then you're going to love great qualities in another. And that's what you're going to love in another. But if you love yourself for your Jew, for your Jewish soul, so you're going to love another Jew because he has a Jewish soul, period. For every human being, if they love themselves, created in the image of God, and that image of God is in everyone. That's powerful. That's powerful. But that's coming from a whole, complete and worthy place. And you're whole, complete, and you're worthy, not because you did something, but because you are something. As opposed to coming from a broken place. When you're coming from a broken place, so then you need to fill yourself with things that will complete you. So I did this wonderful thing, I feel more complete. I, did another amazing thing, feel more complete, right? The more I do, the more I get, the more I feel whole and complete. And of course, then that's how I'm going to look at someone else. That's coming from a brokenness, not from whole, not from completeness, not from some of the stuff that we learn in TRC every week. Reminders, Sunday night TRC. All right, we have what to bring into our lives, to enhance our lives. Something beautiful. I see some questions. On Facebook, I saw some. Oh, Joseph, how do you deal with violence and potential threats of life? Oh, that's a different story. Then you got to protect your life, someone else's life. I did not speak about that at all. How do you deal with a Nazi? A real anti-Semite? So we spoke about that in TRC. How do you feel towards the enemies of Israel, like terrorists? No, that's a Nazi. The same thing. Terrorists, it's all in the same boat. We're not talking about that at all. No. That's a different story entirely. Different story entirely. I don't go fully into that. We did that on TRC, and we'll do that further. But yes, no. There's nothing. Although I must say that even a Nazi and a terrorist has the image of God, and they could be turned around. It is possible. It is possible. But if they're a danger, and that's the key, if they're acting in a dangerous way, right? And dangerous doesn't mean just physically dangerous, but emotionally, psychologically, if they're wreaking havoc, that's a different story on how to, then you got to deal with the wreaking havoc. That's a different, that's a societal thing that needs to be dealt with. I'm talking about more the personal relationships, the one-on-one relationships that we have with people. Not with the haters out there. Is it permitted to listen to the recording of the Megillah instead of a live reading Megillah? Yeah, but you don't fulfill the mitzvah. To fulfill the mitzvah, if you want, you can listen to a recording and read it together with the recording. If you can't go to a live Purim Megillah reading, which is a mitzvah for Jewish men and women over the age of 12, men over the age of 13, they're obligated to hear the Megillah Monday night and Tuesday during the day. And excuse me, and you can't hear it online. You have to hear it live. And if you can't do that, then just read the Megillah yourself. Pronounce the words, say the words, and if you have to say it in English, say it in English. Not a problem. Simcha, how do you deal with family members that act real ugly and deceitful? TRC. Again, this is more about an attitude on how to look at them, and right? But if someone is acting, in an ugly and deceitful way, it's ugly. So sometimes you need to deal with the situation. There's a difference between dealing with a situation and 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 how we should look at that person. If you try to be kind and it doesn't work, okay, sometimes you have to let go. Sometimes you have to let go, and you know, and it is what it is. But again, that's all individual cases. The Alter Rebbe is giving us a very, you know, okay. Vida, I see that Jane has a question. She has 2 question marks right before you. Thank you. How can I make sure that the feeling I have of not hating someone is genuine? When it doesn't control you, when it takes over your mind. You know, when you really hate somebody, or when you really love somebody, when there's strong feelings, and it takes over our thoughts, takes over, right? So when you know that your thoughts are inundated because of the hate that you have to that person, so you know that you still harbor hate. But if you don't have those feelings come up, and especially, and even when you see them, the strong feelings don't come up. Maybe they just perk a little, but not much. Whatever it might be, right? That's a story. All right. Welcome to Jay on Clubhouse, Yirmiyahu, Tyron, Sheer. Welcome back, Sheer. We have Ariella. Welcome. Nate. Michelle. All right, beautiful. All right, folks. Oops. I'm Rabbi Rody Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zichri Kadesh in Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. What an amazing day. And a good Shabbos. Be well. Thank you for